Midget, Cool Marie, Painted Shoes, Primitive Lady, Queen Sweet and La Elegance now being ridden along in a gap to Custom Made and Jackette. Out wide, Wolverton Lady about a length in front of Eloquent Edition and La Zip under the whip from Star of Danielle. On the inside, Our Draw headed off by Cool Marie going well, and then Painted Shoes and La Elegance. Out wide, Wolverton Lady just in front, Star of Danielle coming at it. Cool Marie on the inside. Star of Danielle's taken the lead out wide from Wolverton Lady. The outside horse is well in front. Star of Danielle's going to breeze home in the last. Wolverton Lady will be second. Close for third. Cool Marie got it in front of La Zip, and then Painted Shoes, Our Draw. Out wider on the track would have been Liberty Lace. Further back, Jackette, La Elegance and Queen Sweet, Primitive Lady. Eloquent Edition, Custom Made, Gold Midget was one of the last to finish, and Liberty Lace was in front of those, and outside proved to be quicker there, 1:10.4, and Star of Danielle has trotted in. 5 Star of Danielle, H. White in the last.
The Hillside Handicap.
It brings to a close a very, very successful AJC Autumn Carnival, one of the best on record as far as keenness of racing is concerned, turnover, bookie-wise and tote-wise, and full marks to the AJC. They've promoted it magnificently too. Well done, fellas. OK, now they're all boxed for the last. Little movement out wide. And away they go. Lovely start at the end of 100. LA Streak and Iveston dropping back to the rear. And Fort Denison goes straight to the front now by a length. Second is Historic, just as lovely. Third, followed 3 deep by Southern Conquest. A length Investor, the speed is keen. Followed then by So Will I. A length the Rabacan, Billy Asset, Gretzky, then Iveston, LA Streak. 1 Regal Native, My Halley Star. Latest Word second last, and Gomerino last by the 1200. And the speedy Fort Denison 3/4 to a half length on Investor. The saddle shifted on it. Third about 2.5 lengths away, Historic on the inside of Southern Conquest. Just over a length, the So Will I on the outside of Rabacan, then Billy Asset shading on the inside, Just as Lovely. Then LA Streak, Regal Native, followed by Gretzky, Iveston, Latest Word and My Halley Star. And last is Gomerino at the 750. No change in the order. Fort Denison leads Investor. The kid having an awful ride on Investor with the saddle right up on its withers. And Rabacan getting a beautiful run up on the inside. And now Cook comes one off the rails to sit at the quarters of Fort Denison. 2 lengths away, third is Historic, and then comes at the head of the others, So Will I. Investor dropping off. 1 Billy Asset, Southern Conquest and Regal Native next, and a length the Billy Asset and Latest Word. Homeward bound at the 350, Rabacan out after Fort Denison. 2 lengths to Regal Native. By golly, Fort Denison's battling on well, and the little boy Mark Wickens has pulled the whip on Fort Denison, coming at him again on the outside, Regal Native. He looks the winner, Regal Native. He raced up to Fort Denison and shoots away, and Regal Native full of running, well clear of Fort Denison. Great go for third between Billy Asset and Latest Word. Billy will get it, but a breeze to Regal Native from Fort Denison. Billy Asset just beat Latest Word for third, then Rabacan, Iveston, Gretzky, Just as Lovely, Southern Conquest, LA Streak. Oh boy, he's done a mighty job on Investor. The saddle right up on its nose, basically, from My Halley Star. Historic. Gee,
There's the unofficial past the post. 6, 2 and 9. Number 6, Regal Native. Number 2, Fort Denison. And number 9 was Billy Asset.
25, 120, Star of Danielle, 115, Wolverton Lady, 120, Cool Marie, Trifecta, 176.60, Quinella, 12.60, and as Tony said, past the post in Sydney on the last, 6, 2 and 9. I think you've worked as hard as anybody, Tony. I think I'll let you wrap it up.
Oh, thanks very much, Bruce. I think 25 races today. We just hope that everyone has backed a winner and can join us again very soon. Good afternoon.
in the Westfield Marathon. It wasn't such a great start to the month for Peter Brock. Teammate Gary Scott did a demolition job on his 05 Commodore in practice at Lakeside, but it was top banana Dick Johnson who captured most of the attention in round 3 of the Touring Car Championship with a scorching performance in his Ford Sierra, hauling in car after car to lead the field before his over-tweaked turbo expired mid-race, and BMW's Jim Richards went on to take the checkered flag. But for Johnson, the story wasn't over. They declared his turbo tinkering illegal, and he was suspended from racing for a week, which was really no penalty at all. By the time the next leg came round at Wanneroo, Vicky Dickey was up, running again, and legal this time, and finished second behind Glenn Seaton in the Nissan Turbo. A man who did pay the penalty was Melbourne's Tony Mad Dog Miller when he risked his Australian featherweight title against Jeff Fenech. The Marrickville Mauler took Mad Dog apart. How Miller survived the first-round knockdown and stayed on his feet for the rest of the fight is a miracle. And even though Fenech couldn't put him away, it was an impressive workout for the upcoming Super Bantamweight title tilt against Thailand's Samat Payakaroon. On the subject of impressive, this was the Sugar Ray Leonard comeback, defying all the odds to overcome a serious eye injury and 3.5 years out of the ring to outfox and outbox the world middleweight master, Marvellous Marvin Hagler. By the time it was over, Marvin wasn't quite so marvellous, and the title belt belonged to Leonard on a controversial split decision. One of the judges, incredibly, scored only 2 rounds to Hagler.
His name was Jojo Guerra, should be put in jail. I'm serious. I'm not even going to laugh about that one, because this man gave Marvin Hagler 2 rounds.
And the judge, he's taking legal action. On the footy front, the Swans and Carlton went into Friday night showdown at the Sydney Cricket Ground as joint leaders on the VFL ladder. The Swans might have been clear leaders, but for the woes they encountered at Windy Hill 2 weeks back. Essendon bombed the Sydney Siders by 37 points to give them their first real jolt for the season. And in rugby league, Parramatta were finally jolted out of their lethargy when they came up against Canberra. The Raiders ran to a 22-0 lead at half-time, and the Eels fans were squirming. But in the second half, Lindner and Sterling spearheaded Parra to a stunning turnaround that resulted in 5 tries and 5 goals and a 30 points to 22 victory. The other heavy action came off the field as some club officials and coaches continued to target referees, and it proved a costly pastime, with the league levying $1,000 fines against West Secretary Rick Wade for foul language and Manly coach Bob Fulton for wishing Bill Harrigan under a runaway truck after his performance with the whistle in Manly's loss to Cronulla. And in rugby union, Auckland edged out New South Wales 19-18 and thumped Queensland 43-18 in South Pacific Championship matches. But in the World 7-a-side Championship, it was a different story. Revenge at last for Australia after some disappointing performances in recent seasons to beat New Zealand in the final, 22 points to 10. April was a mammoth month for punting on the Sydney Autumn Carnival. Some of the betting duels created headlines of their own, but it was hard to take anything away from horses like Marauding, which gave millionaire owner Robert Sangster and trainer Brian Mayfield Smith their first golden slipper.
Christmas tree is coming at him. Boasting and Marauding running home and throws Lygon Arms and then Tasman Dancer. Marauding is coming with Lygon Arms and Marauding as they reach the line. Maraudings win the slipper.
A question of interference resulted in a short suspension for jockey Ron Quinton, but he could afford to smile. It was his 4th slipper win. If one horse stood out above the rest over the carnival, it was Dr. Jeff Chapman's 3-year-old Myocard, conqueror of our Waverley Star and Bone Crusher in the Rawson Stakes, winner of the $500,000 Tancred Stakes and the AJC Derby.
Zipped away, 120 to go. He's got the Tancred Derby double one. He'll do a Bone Crusher and Kingston Town Myocard. He's a minute in front of my Precocious Loudon.
Myocard was aided by a dream run on the inside of stablemate Imprimatur as they straightened in the Derby, and Stewart subsequently suspended Imprimatur's jockey Shane Dye for 6 months on a charge of improper riding. The other big race result belonged to Tommy Smith and his courageous filly Bounding Away, which backed up after finishing 4th in the Derby to clinch the AJC Oaks.
Going great guns, Bounding Away about 2 lengths run round the world, making no impression on the Dow Star line, but what a super filly is Bounding Away. Bounding Away wins the Oaks.
Smith claimed she was a better horse than Myocard and should have won the Derby too, and that he was the greatest trainer in the world. Well, Jeff Chapman was quick to respond with a $500,000 challenge that Myocard could defeat Bounding Away anywhere, anytime.
He's tried to establish the horse as the greatest horse of all time, and Myocard made it look ordinary, so I guess it's just part of his publicity wagon.
Well, the challenge hasn't come off, and it was quickly overshadowed anyway by the multi-million-dollar punting duel between businessman Kerry Packer and the leading interstate rails bookie Bruce McHugh. The money changed hands in millions until McHugh abruptly retired from the ring. although he denies that Packer's winning streak put him out of business.
Well, if that's what people want to believe, let them. But let me say this, I had a winning day on Saturday, so I'm going out on a winning note.
The poor PR award for the month goes to the stall gift organisers who went to all the trouble to entice American Olympic gold medalist Valerie Briscoe Hooks down under to become the first woman to run in the big pro sprint, and then handicapped her out of it.
Because there's no known way you can bring an athlete such as Valerie over here to run the stall gift, and she has 6.5 meters.
I would have to seriously run a world record in women's time in 100 meters for me to be that. I'm not a short sprinter at all.
The handicappers refused to back down, and so did Briscoe Hooks. She was on the first plane home, ending what should have been a promotional dream. The stall gift, of course, was run without her, and won by Victoria's Russell Elliott. April also saw the rise to surfing stardom of 16-year-old Newcastle boy Nicky Wood. He not only upset the world champion Tom Curran in the first round at Bells Beach, but went on to claim victims like Michael Ho and Sean Thompson on his way to the final, and ended up winning the whole tournament. And at Bathurst, the annual Easter Bike Parade came and went with a minimum of fuss. All the action was confined to the track, and there was plenty of it before Rod Cox finally came away with victory in the RI 500 Enduro, while the luckless Michael Dowson gained some consolation by backing up to win both heats of the Superbikes. And of course, Wayne Gardner took the lead in the World Championship with a victory in the Spanish Grand Prix. We'll have more on that in motorsport later. The winners' list for the month also included the husband and wife team, Karen and Michael Neville, who completely dominated the Australian water ski titles at Lake Kawonga up in Queensland. They just had too many tricks up their sleeve for the opposition and went on to top the overall male and female point score and guarantee themselves a spot in the world titles later this year. But not everyone finished a winner in April. Over in Perth, an ambulance man was trampled as he tried to treat a trotting driver injured in a spectacular fall. Officials were condemned for failing to stop the race, as the remaining horses twice had to squeeze past the injured driver and those who were treating him. A fall also cost Australia's Rob De Castella any chance of successfully defending his Boston Marathon title. Deke went sprawling over a rope that officials had failed to withdraw quickly enough as the race began. The Aussie chap quickly dusted himself off and took up the chase, but it was in vain. The Japanese runner Ashiko Seiko, winner of the Boston Marathon 5 years ago, took the title again, while Deke finished a very creditable 6th. But the agony of the month belonged to Greg Norman at the US Masters. With a well-timed charge on the final day, the Great White Shark grabbed a share of the lead with Larry Myers and Seve Ballesteros, and at the 18th, the Australian had this putt to break the deadlock and win the Masters outright.
Oh, my God, I don't believe it.
So the title went to a three-way playoff, with Ballesteros the first to dip out on the second hole. And then, at the third, Myers finished way right of the green, while Norman was on the edge and looked odds-on to get down in 2 and finally wrap up the big one. No one, but no one, figured on what happened next. How's
that look?
Finally, here's a different way to make sport pay. Well, maybe you don't really classify skateboarding as sport, but it certainly takes a high degree of skill and athleticism. And as for the money-making part, well, just ask American hotshot Christian Massa.
Make, over $100 grand a year.